welcome to the next episode of the Klingberg Wing Mark II development. I'm Raul Klingberg, your host. Today we're going to talk about making some flight hardware for the glider. These are critical components. These long, skinny ovals, I guess you could call them, rounded off bars. They go in here. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. They provide the attachment point for the outer wing panels, and they are the main spar that goes across the center section of the wing. And these are made out of the foam core. They have 1/4 inch thick aircraft plywood on the ends where the bearing is going to go through for the pin. Make sure that we don't have any tear out here. And in between them I have basswood on the edges. This gives me a hard edge on the foam to work against. Prevents a buckling of the cap strips into the foam. And it works out quite well. These parts are coming along. I have one layer of carbon fiber on here so far. As you may have seen in a previous video, I'm using these pull-truded carbon fiber strips to provide all the load carrying capability of this component. 4 layers on here carry the load in hoop stress. Very lightweight, incredibly strong, 320,000 psi. So I have one layer on here. I got a joint here where it ends, and I've cut these such that I can butt that on to the previous one, wraps around, and the next seam is going to be over here. I've set the lengths to put the next seam over here, then I'll put a seam here, and then maybe a seam back over here. I don't want the seams to line up. We'd have a stress riser that way. That'd be bad. So it's kind of like laying bricks. You've got to have some overlap on those. I'd say at least 3-4 inches to make sure that you eliminate any stress risers. When these strips are finally on here, all 4 layers, this is going to get face sheets of 5.6 ounce carbon fiber plain weave fabric, and on the ends there'll be doublers here. I'll probably wrap some 2 ounce carbon fiber around here. I'll probably just put a strip around the bottom and then snip it this way and fold over the flap to make sure that we're completely grabbing and encasing the protrusions that are carrying all the load. I found that I can do 4 of these in one go. The T88 structural adhesive that I'm using has a long enough pot life where I can get all 4 strips, apply the adhesive to all 4 strips, and then get them on here. I'm using tape to clamp the strips in place. They're quite springy. They want to stick up here and slide this way. So I use 3 pieces of tape to start with, one going this way, one going this way, one coming around this way to clamp this in place on the end. Do the same thing on the other end. A few strips in between. The flat stays down pretty good, doesn't take too much to hold that. And then I wrap the ends in masking tape to make sure that these are clamped on here good and tight. We don't want any gaps between the core and these strips, because then you're asking epoxy resin or something else to carry the loads rather than the high strength carbon fiber. I've used a sanding bar with some sticky back sandpaper on it to remove any excess epoxy that oozed out from the first layup, and I've sanded the edges slightly like this to remove any tape residue that was on there. We don't want any tape residue between first and second or between layers. That would greatly reduce the bond strength of the epoxy. So there we go. I'm going to put you on fast forward, give you some music, and you're going to watch me make some parts. And wish me luck. Here we go.